Hello, my name is Dr. Bayo, and I am an anthropologist by training and an associate professor in Africana Studies at the University of Arizona in the United States here.
Okay, Bayo, let's talk about colonialism, and let's start with a general definition for somebody who doesn't know anything about it. What is colonialism?
Well, the colonialism could best be described as the superimposition of a foreign power over an indigenous people, in which people come from faraway lands and impose their will and government and way of life on another people that are thousands of miles away from them.
Okay, so how does this relate to the African diaspora?
Well, those are two, it does not have, those are two different things.
Okay.
It is slavery, the transatlantic slavery, that can be used as a segue to the African diaspora, because we are talking about the dispersal of the peoples of Africa to different parts of the world. In the case of the transatlantic slave trade, it was a forced migration,
Right.
in that it was those people were moved against their will. But in the case of colonialism, you have, in this case for Africa, we are talking about, when we're talking about colonialism, we are talking about what happened at the beginning of the 19th century, the second half, from about 1850, starting from 1850 up till about 1950, 1960.
Okay, this is basically when the Europeans moved into Africa.
Yes, it
Okay.
involved the expansion of European countries, including Britain, France, Germany, Spain,
Netherlands,
Belgium, into portions of Africa, different parts of Africa, which started initially as that struggle for, part of the extension of the struggle for political supremacy in Europe.
Oh,
and
between the Europeans.
between the European countries.
Right.
And it was also at a time when the various older ancient polities like kingdoms and empire were now transitioning into nation states, countries with fixed boundaries.
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah.
about 1950, it appears as if that has stabilized. Boundaries have now been
1850 or 1950?
1850s.
Okay.
It now became clear that boundaries have been carved, they have been solidified, but you still have some European nations and some individuals that had a lot of ambitions in which they still wanted to expand the influence of their
Like
countries.
King Leopold II?
The second, yes, Germany, you have Germany, you have Britain, you have France. And so for them, unfortunately, they could not carry that out or realize the ambition of extending their influence in Europe, because the boundaries have now become crystallized. It has become fixed. And so there was some sort of kind of equilibrium among the European nation states. Wars have been fought to settle those boundaries. And so from about 1850s, those that still had ambitions and wanted to continue with that political struggle for supremacy had to take the fight out of Europe.
Oh, okay.
And so they came to Africa and Asia to continue
Right,
that. And so it started as what you call the scramble,
Yeah,
in which they were fighting among themselves, boxing out one another to carve out areas for themselves, which they call, they refer to areas where they have established effective occupation.
Right, right. And this was to enrich their power economically.
Yes, that is a very important thing that we need to talk about.
Okay.
You are now getting into the motives.
Okay.
Usually what the apologists of colonialism will want us to believe is that, well, the European nations went out there to Africa not for their own benefits or selfish reasons,
Right.
but in order to help the peoples of Africa,
Right.
to
Right.
civilize them because they were
Right,
believed to
right.
be barbaric and savage, uncivilized, and also to educate them and all to
Right.
spread Christianity and all of those.
And I remember when I was studying India, it was to the big word at the time in Europe was despotism. It was like they were saving the people
Yes.
from despots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they were doing it in order to save the Africans from, well, if you ask the religious leaders, from burning in eternal hell.
Well, sure, save
And
their
also,
souls.
if
Yeah.
you talk about the contemporary world, the material world, it's a way to improving the conditions of life and make life better. And they do that through education, through changing their religion because
missionary work.
because they
and,
believe
yeah.
they were worshiping idols. So
Right,
those are the
right,
reasons they
right,
want
right. The
us to believe
justifications.
that motivated them to go to Africa. But we know that those are just excuses. The reasons are like what you very clear are three clear reasons. One, the economic motive. And the economic motive can again be subdivided into three reasons. One, by that time, industrial revolution was kind of gaining steam and momentum, and so every European nation needed raw materials to feed those factories. Unfortunately, they had expended the raw materials, the resources that are available to them had outgrown the number of industries. So they needed sources of raw materials to feed those factories. Unfortunately, no European nation could go to another European nation to meet that goal because all of them had that same
They all
problem.
were competing. Yeah.
And so they had to go outside for that.
Okay.
Then two, by that time with industrial revolution, they were now producing more than they could consume. So there was the need to search for markets where they could sell the excess of production that they could not, the internal market could not absorb. And again, no European country could export to another European country because all of them were having the same problem. So the third one was that by this time, the European nations have accumulated a lot of surplus from the Industrial Revolution. Just like if you are into business, you have your initial investment, and then after the first turnover, you make profit, you reinvest your profit into the business and you start to grow it. So they were now looking for places where they could reinvest that surplus capital to make more money. So most of that that's one of the reasons why they came to Africa. But we know that very little investment was made.
Sure.
Most of the investment was in the area of
making a road or something.
Roads, and those roads, those projects were aimed at helping
just
them
enriching
to exploit,
the Europeans,
to help them exploit
just
the
taking
resources.
the stuff away.
Yes, so that is one, the economic motive.
Yeah.
The second one, I had alluded to that earlier on, the political motive, in which by 1850, the boundaries in Europe had crystallized, in which they have fully transitioned.
And there's no place to
from
expand in
exactly.
Europe.
So those who still had imperial ambition had to go outside because at that point the question is, it was a question of size. For them, size does matter. How much land you control
Exactly.
is a testament to your power, your imperial power. And that will explain why even some countries, European countries, I won't mention names, they acquired areas that were even regarded as not being worth the effort in Africa, like the Sahara,
expanses of deserts.
the desert. But
it was size.
But for them, what
they
is
could brag
important
about
to
how
be able,
big they
can
had.
look at the map and say, here, look
We
at
control
all
all
of
this.
land.
Yes.
Even though the only things that you find there are reptiles and critters that are, So you have that political motive. And then the last one.
Oh, let me guess. This is the spiritual one?
No.
No? Okay.
No. The last one is the social motive, social motive.
Okay.
Which, in a way, did not actually motivate the Europeans to expand into Africa. But once they got into Africa, they now saw an opportunity to solve some of the social problems they had in Europe. Because with industrial, one thing with machines, and this is what people are, we are still worrying about that now to say, hey, with all of this artificial intelligence, AI, will that mean that those machines will take our jobs? Guess what? With the Industrial Revolution, with machines now being developed, a lot of people lost their jobs. They became unemployed.
So they could be sent out to the colonies?
Exactly.
Yeah, because
so
that
those
happened in India
areas
too.
that have very high unemployment rate.
It gave them a purpose.
You
to go
associate
out
that
and,
with crime and all
yes,
of that, and
right.
so with that
they could move up by going out to the colonies.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so the
right.
government now encouraged them to move out
Yeah,
and settle
yeah,
in those
right,
colonies,
right.
and for them, once they move out in those colonies, they now move up in the pecking order.
Yes,
in the social
that's right.
Because
Right.
they are Europeans.
Yeah, they could better themselves by becoming officers and whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity for them.
Social mobility.
Exactly. The same way we know with when you look at Australia, the settlement of Australia by the British, the people that pioneered the settlement were not just the nobility class.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with that myself, having lived on the subcontinent, because they did that in India.
It was the what you call jail boards, criminals
that
were now.
That's right. Now they had a fresh start. And,
the undesirables that were sent out. Exactly.
Get them. Okay.
So those are the three. Now we have looked at what reasons they gave as to why they expanded, which included to educate, to civilize, and
save their souls.
Yes, but we know that those could not have been the reasons why they went there, because they just wanted to show that they were there for humanity.
The justification,
to rationalize
the apologists.
To rationalize their expansion. We know that the more probable reasons, based on what happened, using hindsight, which is 2020, as we say.
When you see how they benefited economically,
exactly what they did,
yeah,
then we know that they were there for their economic, political, and social reasons, which were just very selfish
stands to
reasons.
reason. Yes. Thank you.